The Archivist. The year 2096. Deep beneath the granite mountain range, inside a vault designed to survive centuries, a data archivist walks between endless rows of glowing servers. The facility was built decades earlier as part of an international initiative known simply as Continuity Protocol. Its purpose was simple in theory: preserve civilization. Inside the vault are backups of humanity itself. Petabytes of historical records, digital copies of every major library, genomic archives of plant and animal life, global satellite imaging, entire artificial intelligence models trained on human language and culture. A digital mirror of civilization. The archivist stops at a console. Outside the vault, the world is unstable. Global markets collapsed 2 weeks earlier after cascading failures in automated trading networks. Power grids are flickering across continents. Communication satellites have begun to fail after a series of intense solar storms. Governments are issuing reassurances, but the archivist has studied history, and history rarely collapses in a single moment. It only erodes. A message arrives, encrypted. Priority level, final. The message reads, preserve continuity protocol. In other words, prepare for the possibility that the current system will not or never recover. The archivist pauses. He studies a wall showing a timeline of civilization stretched back thousands of years. Empires, kingdoms, economic systems. Each one rose, each one peaked, each one eventually transformed. Some collapsed violently. Others faded slowly into new structures. He realizes something unsettling. Civilization does not move in a straight line. It moves in cycles. Expansion, peak complexity, correction, and even reset. In this episode of the Conspiracy Atlas, I'm going to be talking about a topic I'm pretty sure not many do talk about: the Great Reset, cycles of civilization. The pattern of collapse. Modern education systems often portrays history as a steady climb, from primitive to advanced, from tribal to technological, from caves to satellites. But when historians examine civilization over long periods of time, the pattern looks less like a staircase and moves more like waves. Consider the Roman Empire. For centuries, it represented the pinnacle of engineering, law, and infrastructure. Road networks connected continents, aqueducts carried water across valleys, a unified currency stabilized across vast territories. At its peak, Rome appeared unstoppable. Yet the empire fractured. Economic strain, military overexertion, political instability, and eventually the Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 CE. The result was not simple political change. Trade networks collapsed, urban populations declined. In parts of Europe, literacy dropped dramatically. For centuries afterward, historians referred to the era as the Dark Ages. But Rome is only one example. In Central America, the Maya civilization built extraordinary cities along with certain astronomical cycles. At its peak, millions lived in complex urban societies. Then between the 8th and 9th centuries, many Maya cities were suddenly abandoned. The causes are still debated: drought, overpopulation, political conflict, environmental exhaustion. Again, complexity reached a peak. Then systems fractured. But perhaps the most dramatic example occurred around 1200 BCE. Historians call it the Bronze Age collapse. Within a few decades, multiple advanced societies across the Mediterranean fell simultaneously. The Mycenaean civilization disappeared. The Hittite Empire collapsed. Trade networks linked to Egypt, Greece, and Near the East shattered. Entire cities burned. Literacy vanished in some regions for generations. Historians believe the collapse was not caused by a single disaster. It was a cascade of interconnected failures: climate change, migration, economic instability, war. When one system fails, other follows. A domino effect across civilizations. But the lesson is clear. Complex societies are powerful, but they are also very fragile. Climate catastrophe and reset events. Long before politics and economic collapse, nature often applies pressure first. Earth's climate history reveals abrupt events that reshaped human societies, but one of the most mysterious is the Younger Dryas. Around 12,900 years ago, global temperatures suddenly dropped. Within decades, large portions of the northern hemisphere returned to near glacier conditions. The cause remains debated. Possible triggers include massive freshwater disrupted ocean currents, volcanic activity, or even cometary debris entering the Earth's atmosphere. Regardless of the cause, the effect was dramatic. Food systems collapsed in many regions, human populations migrated, entire ecosystems changed. But climate disruptions did not stop there. History records many environmental shocks as well. Mega drought that destabilized empires, volcanic eruptions that darkened skies and cooled global temperatures, solar fluctuations altering Earth's atmosphere. For example, the eruption of Mount Tambora triggered what became known as Year Without a Summer. Crop failures spread across continents, famine followed, social unrest increased. Climate stress translates quickly into political stress, food scarcity, economic pressure, mass migration. In this sense, resets are not conspiracy. They are the natural outcome of environmental pressure on fragile systems. Civilizations expand, then nature tests its limits. The psychological reset. When societies collapse, physical systems are not the only things that change. Belief systems change too. After the fall of the Roman Empire, political authority fragmented, but religious authority expanded. New institutions emerged to stabilize culture. After the devastation of World War II, the global order reorganized again. International organizations formed, financial systems were rebuilt, new geopolitical alliances emerged. Each crisis reshapes the structure of power in history. This is where conspiracy theories often emerge. Some observers have that idea where transitions are intentional or orchestrated, but historical evidence suggests something more complex. During crises, institutions adapt faster than populations. Governments reorganize, financial systems reconstruct, and new policies appear very, very quickly. Meanwhile, the public experiences confusion and instability at this vast change so quickly. The result is perception. It can appear as though someone planted the reset or planned the reset. In reality, crises create opportunities for some. Those with resources and influence often navigate change more effectively. The danger lies not in the existence of resets, but in the concentration of power during transition periods. History shows that moments of instability often produce the next generation of institutions, and those institutions sometimes even shape the future. Are we approaching another peak or another reset? Modern civilization is unprecedented. Never before has humanity created such a globally interconnected system. Supply chains span continents, financial markets operate in milliseconds. AI, artificial intelligence, processes global information in real time at fast speed. The benefits are enormous in our lives today. Efficiency, productivity, global communication. But interconnection does carry risk. When systems become tightly linked, failure spreads quickly. A solar storm similar to the Carrigan event could disable satellites and electrical grids. A large-scale cyber attack could disrupt logistic networks. A climate shock could destabilize global food systems. Debt level across major economics are historically high. Information ecosystems are fragmented. Trust in institutions is declining in many regions. None of these factors guarantee collapse, but they do illustrate something important and to think of. Complexity increases efficiency, yet complexity also increases vulnerability. History suggests that when systems reach peak complexity, correction eventually follows. The question is whether or not change will occur. The question is, what form will it take? A gradual transition? A sudden disruption? Or a technological transformation? Or something more subtle, like a cultural shift so slow we only recognize it decades later. Did you know the average lifespan of major civilizations historically ranges between 200 to 500 years? Or that more than 90% of human history occurred before the industrial age? Or that modern supply chains operate on a just-in-time logistics, meaning many essential goods have only days to buffer inventory? Or our world moves faster than any civilization before it, and we just don't know that. Speed brings progress, but speed also reduces in resilience. The Great Reset is not a single event. It is a pattern. Civilizations expand, They innovate. They grow increasingly complex until that complexity strains their foundations. Pressure builds. Eventually, something shifts. History does not repeat perfectly, but it follows a rhyme. We are living in the most technological advanced era in human history and human existence right in front of our eyes, and also the most interconnected. Interconnection amplifies the progress, but it also amplifies vulnerability, as I stated before. The lesson of past civilizations is not that they were primitive, it is that they believed they were permanent. They thought they could live thousands of years. Perhaps the greatest illusion of every advanced society is the stability. If collapse comes, it may not resemble an apocalypse. It may resemble a transition, a shift in dynamic. New systems emerge from pressure, old institutions fade or fall, new structures replace them. Civilization rarely disappears. It evolves. The real question is whether or not humanity survives. It will and always has. The question is who shapes that next chapter of a great reset. So that's been this week's episode of the Conspiracy Atlas, talking about the Great Reset and the cycles of civilization. Do you agree or disagree with this topic for today's episode? Do you think that it's happened over time, and do you think that civilizations only last between 200 to 500 years, or is it a bit longer? And how long do you think the next Great Reset will happen? Be sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell your family and friends about the Conspiracy Atlas and let them know what I am talking about. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Conspiracy Atlas, and I'll see you all in next week's episode.